I don't have any more requests to speak. I appreciate everyone that's come forward today, especially those, a majority of which came out of the county to come here and make their issues known. To counter some of the things that were being said, this is not something that was brought forward to scrutinize any religious institution. This certainly, the incidents that we've seen at Golden Era certainly was an impetus to understand that we don't have any legislation in this area, and there have been other incidences that are not affiliated with Golden Era that I've mentioned before that have caused some issues in the county, and therefore we look at and see what other cities and counties have done to allow for peaceful demonstrations and allow for people that are being demonstrated against to not have people marching on their property and being threatening on their property as well. I think this ordinance was carefully written. It's been vetted in the Ninth Circuit with a greater radius than ours. We've lowered our radius to make it possible that you can be close to those that you're protesting against effectively. And I felt it was my obligation to bring it to the board for consideration, and that's why we're seeing it here today. I believe anybody should practice any religion they want to, whether it be Scientology, whether it be Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, Muslim. People come to this country because they know that they can worship and not feel persecuted for worshiping the religion that they wish to participate in. There's a lot of allegations that have been made against Scientology. This is not the forum for that. If you have a complaint, you need to go before the grand jury, make a complaint with the district attorney's office, and it is their job to follow through with investigations where you allege certain crimes of kidnapping, if you will, or holding people against their will is occurring. And I encourage you to follow through with those efforts, and we'll be happy to give you the district attorney's address here in town for those of you that are out of town, or the grand jury, which is right across the street, where you can make a bona fide complaint. But those are not the issues that this board will be entertaining. We're entertaining this as a residential ordinance. We've made it possible in comparison to the last reiteration that it allows for people to protest closer to the residents that they want to protest against. 300 feet was just too far, and we made it now 50 feet. It's being proposed to the property line. I don't even have a problem lowering it to 30 feet, but I wait for my board members to weigh in. Supervisor Buster.
Just in the instance that we're referring to here out on Gilman Springs, is there a safe spot that comports with the ordinance within a reasonable distance, either on that side of the Gilman Springs or immediately on the other side where this ordinance allows for picketing?
I believe they can go on the other side of the street. Mr. Al-Hadaf, can you verify that? I know it's a pretty topographically challenged area, but yes. Any other comments?
Yeah, I didn't clearly understand the answer. The question.
There is room for people on the other side of the road to fall within that 50 feet from the property line to effectively protest what they believe to be problems within the religious institution.
Well, if it's talking property line, then it's talking about the whole compound, isn't it? And won't they have to be 50 feet from the compound? And the compound is on both sides of the road takes in a large geographic area. And what I'm afraid of is by passing this, we will eliminate the ability for legitimate protests at the Blue Dome place.
If I might address that for a moment.
Yes, I'm sorry.
The ordinance does not prohibit general protesting, only protesting directed at a targeted or particular residence, and it does allow for protesting on the opposite side of the street. That is an exception in the sidewalk space, and that area is the area between where the street ends and the right-of-way, the improved area from the street to the property line.
So, just to follow up, so even though the property on the other side of the street, in this case, or maybe in other cases, may be owned by the same property owner, same homeowner, it still would allow that if the principal entrance and exit to the property is on the other side of the street.
It's directed at targeted residences. And so if the protesting of a targeted residence, you could protest on the opposite side of the street from that residence.
To answer Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Buster, what County Council has done is given you defined terms. So in the ordinance itself, at Section 3B, it defines targeted picketing, and then at Section 4, the prohibition is against picketing activity that is targeted. So there's plenty of places where people could voice their particular viewpoints and come well within being close to any area except the residence. Does that make sense? So the answer, when I said yes, the answer is there's many places along there that they can picket.
So there's no ambiguity about what constitutes the residence here, in as much as there may be residences in this case in many areas throughout this entire complex of compounds.
There aren't, when you say within the entire area, the residences are really limited to an apartment complex on one side and individual homes on another side. So within this 2-mile stretch, there are a number of places where picketing could occur. In fact, it could occur across the street from residences as measured by the 50 feet, because that's the way the exception has been set up.
Mr. Haddock, the studio, as an example, they have a very large studio that makes films for worldwide distribution. If they wanted to go right up to the fence,
absolutely,
and protest, this would not affect their ability to protest.
It doesn't affect that area, or if they're in the residential area and they go across the street, as council has indicated, they are allowed to peacefully demonstrate there.
This only puts a radius, basically, that is in front of or adjacent to a residential unit.
Yes, that's correct.
That's all.
All right, if that's the case, I think it strikes a fairer balance here.
County Council agree with that? Because we have maps here, and this, if you look at the compound, it's a large, let's say it's not the Church of Scientology, let's say it's General Motors, and they are, again, killing the electric car or something like that, and people want to legitimately protest it. Are we preventing that by saying this large factory compound can't be?
Unless they have residential units, Supervisor. Those are all commercial. They can go right up to the property line.
That's right. You could generally protest, and you can protest in front of any commercial entity. What this governs is protesting particularized residential dwellings. And you can protest across the street. It's an exception to this ordinance.
So at the main entrance to the Scientology
campus
film production studio, they could demonstrate there. Is that correct?
That's correct. What happened yesterday, just a clarification, is that the two individuals that spoke today forgot to say that they stood in the middle of the entrance, and they wouldn't move, and that's why the sheriff had to come out, and they were very respectful. They finally moved when the sheriff came. That was the only thing. You can't stand in the middle of the street or in the middle of an entrance.
So, for the record, by passing this, we are not prohibiting legitimate legal protesting at the Church of Scientology's compound in Hemet. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Any other questions? Will of the board.